In this video, we're going to learn how to use the state machine. The state machine is a great tool that allows you to add behaviors and interactivity to a scene. If you don't want a scene that just has static, unmovable objects and models, the state machine is a really great place to start. In this video, we're going to cover the state machine component, behaviors, states, and actions. All right, I'm here in a scene, a default lighting scene, and we've titled it State Machine Basics. And what we're going to do is create a scene. Actually, I am in play mode. Let me stop that. We're going to create a scene in which we have a flag that we click on it and it goes up and down. And to illustrate that, we need an asset that we can find in the Import Assets library. So I'll click on the Import Assets button above the canvas and that'll pull up our Assets library. And I'm looking for the Sumerian flag. Kind of has that old Sumerian stone tablet look to it. And to get this animated flag into my scene, I need to get the entity, which is a certain asset type, that is always associated with this hexagon icon in the Assets panel. So if I find that, I can drag it onto my scene, and the flag will populate itself in the middle of the scene. And once it does, we can start adding some behaviors to it. All right, so there's my flag. Now, the flag is composed of two things. So if I click on the flag and I expand the flag parent entity, there's a cylinder and a flag. The cylinder is the flag pole, where the flag child entity, notice there's a flag parent entity and a flag child entity. The flag child entity is just the flag itself. And if we play it, it should be animated. Let's play what it looks like. Yeah, you see, so that flag is waving back and forth. All right, so what we want to do is add a behavior in which when we click the flag itself, it'll go down, and when we click it again, it'll go up. So to do that, we're going to add a state machine not to the flag parent entity, because that would make the flag and the flag pole go up and down, just the flag. So we got to find the flag child entity. We click Add Component, and we add a state machine. Now, the state machine is a tool that creates behaviors, and any entity can have any number of behaviors. Right now, there are none, so we need to click the plus button to add a new behavior, and this takes us into the state machine editor. Now, it comes with one state called state 1, and we're going to rename this state wait for click. Now this is a state, and this when we play the scene, it will be initially in this state because first of all, it's the first state that was created in this behavior. Also because it is set as the initial state. Now there's no actions though, so we can't yet do. We need to add an action to transition to a different state to where another behavior or different state and action can happen. It'll make sense as we go along. So let's click Add Action. And let's search for the click/tap on entity. Click being when you're using a desktop computer, or tap if you're using a mobile device. But the action works for both. So it's waiting for click. Next, we want it to transition to a state. So we'll click Add State over here in the top left. And we'll click down. Or we'll name it down. And we're going to add an action called tween move. Tween move. A tween move action, or tween action in general, is a state or is an action that shows the change from one position to a next. So instead of just changing the position, meaning from up to down, if it just moved it instantaneously, it would appear here and then appear here in the next frame. We don't want that. We want it to actually show the movement from this position down to this position. We want to see the animation happen. And that's what tween does. It shows what's called the in-between stages of that change. So the transition, what we want to do is move the translation value down -2 units, or down 2 units. So we'll say -2. We'll uncheck the relative. And we'll make this be... let's do 700 milliseconds. So that's 0.7 seconds. I didn't add a transition. There we go. So then also to add a transition, you click on the transition label, which is the label underneath the very bottom of your state, and then you drag it to a corresponding state. There's only 2 states here. So right now we have it playing. If I click on it, you see how it's waiting for me to click. As soon as I click on it, let me actually play that again. Stop and play. There we go. Went down a lot farther than 2 units. Now the reason that is, I believe, is because something changed in the size of this. So let's actually figure out how far to the bottom of the flagpole it is. So I have my flag here, and notice we're at 2.67-ish or so. So if we just drag it down to here, what is that? So 2.67 down to 0.62. Okay, so that's correct. Okay, so let's go back to my behavior. Down 2 units. Maybe we do need the relative on. Let me click play. Let's try it again. We do need the relative on. So the relative checkbox. That was the issue. All right. So now it's stuck here in this transition, or in this state, this down state. So I can't actually do anything else yet. So that's why we got to add a few more states to make some other changes happen. Let's select the wait for click action or state. Duplicate that by clicking the duplicate state button over here. We'll remove this transition by clicking the arrowhead on the transition to remove it. Next, let's duplicate the down state, and we're going to rename it up, and let's make it +2 units. Now we're going to complete this behavior by adding in transitions. Remember, you got to click and drag on the state, the action label or transition label, and drag it over to the next state. And notice whatever state it's in is highlighted. And when I click on because it's waiting for me to click, and I click on it, it transitions to the down. Now it's waiting for me to click again. And when I click on it, it'll transition to the up, which moves it up 2 units. And back and forth. Now I can alter some of these actions also. So for the down, the tween move is taking 700 milliseconds. I can change that if I want. I can also change the easing type to, say, quadratic, and then the up I'll change from linear to circular. And this has to do with how, like, the quickness in which it initiates that tween movement. So does it just kind of start slowly and then speed up, or does it kind of bounce its way and then move up? So let's see how these easing types affect the tween movement. So I have a quadratic set to this one. You see how it kind of it speeds up. It starts slow, then it speeds up a bit, and then the up state has a circular. Let's see how that works. Yeah, so it kind of slows and then it really speeds up. Let's try elastic for the down, or for the up, and then let's try bounce for the down. So let's see how these. Maybe I need to stop and start it again. I think I do, so we can actually let these changes take place. So that was this bounce and this elastic. So those easing types allow you to change in effect and customize the way in which those tween movements are initiated. And so those are the basics of the state machine. Notice that the state machine is a tool or a behavior that allows you to create behaviors. And behaviors are composed of states that transition to one another via actions. A lot of different terms there. I get them confused a lot too, or misuse them. But state machine, behaviors, actions and states. It's a lot of cool stuff, and it allows you to make a lot of interactivity for your users and for yourself, and allows you to be really, really creative in how you customize and make a scene. Thanks for watching.